The topic of our video is the practice on the latex with Vertix Pico Pro Makeup needle. Our first needle what we will try is 1 RL round liner 33 long taper needle. For practice with this needle I choose Bilar Air Machine by Microbrew. Let's open the needle and install in our Bilar Air. We have to adjust our needle by clicking. We will work with the speed 6. First of all, let's try our line. And right now the pixel. As you can see, the pixels is very small because this is the needle 0.033 long taper. And now let's try the powder technique. Very soft pixels. You have to work with right pressure, with right angle, 90 degree, and you will have amazing pixels on the skin. Another needle what we will try is 1 RL 25 medium taper. And if you compare with first needle, 1 RL 033, the most popular needle, and 025 medium taper, will compare the pixels right now. Again, let's start with line. And now let's try the pixels. You see the pixels a little bit bigger if you compare with 33 long taper. And now let's try powdered. Beautiful. As you can see, this needle 0.25 implanting more pigment into the skin if you're comparing with powdered and pixelated look with 0.033 long taper. Now let's work with needle 1 round liner 20 long taper textured. Let's take a look on the line with this needle. As you can see, the line is very small because it's 0.20 and textured. Let's try pixels. And now let's try the powdered. If you compare these three 1 RL needle, you will see that 20 has smallest pixels, and if you compare the powder technique, that you will see that a 25 medium taper implanting more pigment. But if you compare 33 long taper and 20 textured needle, you will see it's not big difference, just because in textured needles can grab more pigment and implant it to the skin with less passes. But these needles more traumatic because it's unpolished. These needles are recommended for advanced masters. Next needle what we will try, it will be 3 round liner 25 long taper. It's 3 needles grouped together. Let's try first of all with line. As you can see, this line thicker because 3 needles is working together, but it's not precise like 1 RL. Now let's try the pixel. As you can see, the pixels is bigger because it's 3 needles together. And now let's try the powder. And now let's try to fill in the thick line with the angle. You can see it's very fast implantation into the skin. And you can color like that the lash line. If you compare the line with 3 RL and 1 RL, you will see that it's thicker needle. You can use this needle if you would like to implant a lot of pigment and do it quickly, and if you would like to fill in the lash line. Next needle is 3RS round shader 25 medium taper. Let's start with the line. As you can see, this line thicker than 3RL needle because this needle has space between them. And now let's try the pixel. You see the pixels, it's wider. Now let's try the powdered. And now let's try to fill in the thicker line, thicker area. For example, lash line with the angle. And thicker line with 90 degrees. This needle round shader, medium taper, implanting more pigment into the skin if you're comparing with round liner long taper needle. You can use 3RL and 3RS needles if you would like to implant a lot of pigment into the skin and when you are working with eyebrows, eyeliner, lash line and lips, scar camouflage and areola restoration. Let's take a look at this needle 5 sloped 25 long taper. This is big needle configuration and I will use for this needle big machine with big motor inside Flux S Max by Microview. Let's try to work with this needle and perform the line. As you can see, the pigment implanting very fast. You can turn the needle and work just with one long needle and perform the line as well. Let's try pixels. You can see in this position of needle we can try to make pixels, but it's not precise. If we will turn it back our machine and again we'll try to make a pixels, again you will not see the dots because you are working with 5 needles together and it's looking like a line. Let's try powdered in this position. You see the powdered, it's looking like lines and without pixels, but we can turn our machine with an angle and provide pixels in this position. In this position you can see that 5 needles are working together and you can see 5 dots. Let's try to make shading. As you can see with this needle, you can color the big areas and it will be very fast for you. Let's try to work with this needle with thick line. You can do like that the line lips contour. Or you can do lash line if you would like to make thicker. Here you see that all our 5 needles is working together and you can fill in a lot of pigment into the skin. Now let's try to work at another angle, for example, when you're working with scar camouflage. These needles is penetrating the skin and implanting a lot of pigment. Be very careful when you are working with lipstick effect for the lips because you can overwork the area. Another needle is 7 Flat Magnum 25 long taper. 7 Flat Magnum needle has 7 needles in one row. Let's try to make the line with 7 Magnum needle. As you can see that you can make very quickly the line, and you can use this needle for lip contour. Now let's try the pixels. It's hard to make pixels with this line, it's almost impossible. Why? Because it's flat row of the needle. Now let's turn our machine in different position and let's try to make pixels. As you can see, 7 needles are working together, but you have to control the 90 degree. Why? Because if you will do like that, first needles will penetrate the skin deeper than last one. Because the needles not grouped like 5 slop needles, they grouped in one flat row. Let's continue to work with pixels and powder. With this needle you have to control yourself and work in 90 degree, because you can penetrate the skin deeper from one side. Now let's try to make thicker line for lash line, for example. Let's try to work with scar camouflage and penetrate the skin with an angle. As you can see, this needle is perfect for scar camouflage, and you can use these needles for lip blush as well. Just you have to be very careful to not overwork the skin. It's better to work with the pixels. Another needle is MT Curved Magnum 25 medium taper. This needle consists of 9 needles, 2 rows, and first and last needle is shorter. That's why it's curved magnum. Let's try to make line with this needle. As you can see, you cannot do line because it's 2 rows and you are coloring 2 lines together. Let's turn our machine and make some pixels. You can see 2 rows and 9 needles doing a lot of work and implanting a lot of pigment. Let's continue to work in powder technique. Now you can compare this needle with flat magnum and with 5 slop needle. Let's turn the machine and working with the angle like we are working with scar camouflage. If you would like to learn permanent makeup technique, please sign up on my online courses.